Oh yes.
Farewell, be blood.
Lisa's side is right with me.
Evil Dead
Rise
is the 5th installment in the Evil Dead series, directed by Lee Cronin, and stars Alyssa Sutherland, a struggling mother of 3, trying to raise her kids in the inner city. She's in a pretty bad financial spot, she's getting kicked out of her apartment, and she thinks that's the most of her worries, until one of her kids comes across the Necronomicon, or in local terms, the Book of the Dead, which causes her to get possessed, and all hell breaks loose. I just want to say, straight off the bat, Evil Dead is one of my favorite horror series of all time. Absolutely love Evil Dead 2. I think it's one of the best horror comedies ever made. It strikes such a good tonal balance between slapstick comedy and horrific shit. And I absolutely love Fede Alvarez's 2013 reimagining of Evil Dead. I think it's a brutal and absolutely disgusting movie. And the first time I saw this, I was like, what the fuck? I was going into this movie expecting to see the same sort of brutality from the 2013 reimagining, and the trailers led me to believe that it seemed like it was going to be a spiritual successor to that 2013 reimagining, and I'm happy to say that it is. It feels very in line with that 2013 reimagining. A lot of the similar sort of brutal scenes that 2013 movie had, and I couldn't be happier. I gotta give him props for the original take of leaving the cabin in the woods setting and going somewhere different. Now, I know that Army of Darkness did go somewhere different, but this is the first time that we've had a collection of characters in this isolated environment somewhere else besides being in a cabin in the woods. Now, there is a cabin in the woods in this movie. I won't spoil it, but if you're after your fix for cabin in the woods, I mean, there's so many movies out there with that setting already, but if you need your fix of that, that is in the movie. But I appreciate the fact that they still kept that isolated feeling of the cabin in the woods, but just moved it to an apartment. And they got rid of the stairs, they got rid of the elevator, so these people are trapped on this very high level of this apartment, and there's no way out. And you really feel the tension and that isolation and them just wanting to get out of this situation because it's pretty grim and grisly.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
This movie sticks pretty close to the 2013 reimagining with its practical effects. There are some CGI elements in this movie which are pretty clear, but for the most part it does use practical effects. There's one scene involving a cheese grater. That scene made me think twice about slicing up cheese, I gotta say. That was very well done. And there's also another scene involving glassware that you might have seen in the trailer, and wow. And also the makeup that they were using was very realistic. I believed a lot of the injuries that were presented in the film. Yeah, props there for keeping up the realism and the brutality. If you're having doubts about this movie, one thing to look out for with this movie, and it's probably the reason you should see this movie, is Alyssa Sutherland's performance. Her mannerisms and the way that she moves her body and contorts her body is fucking crazy. I was not expecting it to be that good. The way that she talks to the children and the way that she interacts with the child actors is some creepy shit.
You don't look so good, Mom.
Nothing a big old kiss from you won't fix.
I know there's a lot of bad child actors in horror movies, but this feels very familiar to like It or The Sixth Sense. I felt the child actors were very well cast in this movie, especially the little girl. The things that they were subjected to was absolutely brutal, and this movie definitely deserves its R18+ rating. Honestly, not a lot of horror movies get to me, but when you involve children in these particular settings and this environment and put them through the things that they went through in this movie, yeah, that shit gets to me, man, and it really unnerved me. I felt all up, the movie was very in line with the 2013 reimagining, with also having elements from Evil Dead 2 sprinkled in there. There's one scene involving Alyssa Sutherland's character biting out someone's eyeball and then spitting that eyeball into another character's mouth through the air, and then a ding-dong chime sound goes off and the person chokes to death on the eyeball. And that was straight out of Evil Dead 2. That was some Evil Dead 2 shit straight off the bat. And this was like right after a really tense scene. So there was that sick, dark humor that the Evil Dead series is known for present in this film, which was very absent from that 2013 reimagining, so it was nice to see them try and strike a tonal balance between that brutality in the 2013 movie and Evil Dead 2. And I've also got to add, there was one scene in the movie which was really good when it came to tension. Beth is listening to these vinyl records which have like the readings of the Book of the Dead. Beth is like the protagonist and she's listening intently to these vinyl records, and you can see right in the corner Alyssa Sutherland's character is coming down from the air vent and she's crawling down the walls and it's completely out of focus. All you can see is Beth just intently listening to the vinyl and she has no idea what's happening in the background. Now, I find that the most effective way to scare someone. Show them what's happening, show them the monster, and then gradually reveal the monster. It's like in Halloween where you've got small light on Michael Myers' face in the background and it slowly gets brighter and brighter until he fully comes out and Jamie Lee Curtis notices that he's there. That sort of horror will always be the best sort of horror to me. The best sort of scare is slowly revealing it to the audience, not just and a big fucking stupid noise. I don't find that effective at all. And yes, there has been occasions where jump scares have worked, but for the most part, they're just unnecessary. In terms of negatives, I gotta say, I know they were trying to strike a balance between the original Evil Dead series with Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, throwing in some dark comedic elements in there, and the serious and the brutality of the 2013 reimagining, but I felt like when you involve kids and you involve them in this dark and this grim situation, you need a lot more humor. Even if it's dark humor, like they had some moments in the film, I felt like you could have had more of that sort of humor or even more lighthearted humor to break up the tension more. Because I was on the edge of my seat and I was like, ooh, I was getting real disturbed. So I thought more humor could have been added. You had the brutality. It wasn't as brutal as that 2013 movie, but I definitely felt the brutality. All you needed to do was add a bit more humor and you would have been golden. I think the ending too was a little bit rushed. There wasn't as much of a payoff as that 2013 movie. Seeing Mia's character go from like this struggling heroin addict to fully overcoming her demons by the end of the movie and having more of a positive ending in that movie. And this movie ended on sort of a grim note. It tied in with the beginning of the film, which I didn't really think was necessary. You could have cut that part out completely. You could have cut those characters out completely, and it probably would have made the movie a little bit better, in my opinion. Even though there was some really brutal elements in this ending, there was some like David Cronenberg body horror, and that shit was like, woof. In horror movies, nothing disturbs me more than body horror. Movies like Slither, Tusk, and The Human Centipede, those movies freak me the fuck out. Anything to do with like morphing the body or changing the body in really weird and disgusting ways just freaks me out. I appreciated the attempt there. I just felt like the ending didn't live up to the ending of the last movie as well. Ended pretty negatively in my opinion. Yeah, all up, I thought this was a really good addition to the Evil Dead franchise, and I'm really keen to see where it goes from here. And if I could give this movie a grade, I'd give it an A-. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie, so what did you guys think? Have you seen the movie? Leave your comments down below what you thought of it. To keep up to date with all the latest videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification, and give this video a like if you want to see more movie reviews. My name's Rob, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Groovy.